Good afternoon. This video is being made for a class project and it's not an actual counseling session. My name is Shirley Watts and I'm meeting in a counseling session today with Janice. Last week, we did have a session that included Janice and John that we talked about some of the problems. They're newlyweds. They've only been married for 6 months. And we talked about some of the problems that they're having communicating their desires to each other. They agreed to not have any type of sexual involvement, before they were married because of their Christian belief. And John had also been actively, before he met Janice, he'd been sexually active before. But Janice just assumed that everything, once they was married, and he assumed too that everything would fall into place. But now they're having a problem discussing, what their desires, what their expectations are from the marriage. And it's causing frustration for John and Janice. So today we're having an individual session with Janice that we just want to talk. I just want to talk to her and get her views and her opinion on what she thinks is going wrong, or how would she like to change what's happening in her marriage. So good afternoon, Janice. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Well, good. Well, it's good to see you. And if you remember, we talked last week about some of the ways that you could enhance your communication with John, or some of the problems. We talked more about what was actually going on, because last week was more of an intake session. So just tell me your opinion or your views on what you think is going on in your marriage.
Well, being how both of us, we grew up in families where our parents didn't show like intimacy or any love or anything.
Okay.
So, and they didn't tell us, about intimacy with a partner or a marriage or the husband or wife or anything. So, I really don't know how to express it. I've never seen it, and he's the same way. So, really, it's just a communication barrier there, because he doesn't know how to explain it to me what he wants, and I can't explain to him what I want because I've never seen it before.
Okay. Where would you think that you got most of your sexual education from?
Well, my parents never talked to me about it. It's just been something that's not talked about, or they haven't felt comfortable enough expressing it to me. So, if anything, I've probably just heard from friends or seen on TV, or like I may have had a sex ed class in high school, but it really wasn't just,
Do you think your peers, they played an important part in what little you know about sex education?
Yeah.
Okay. And how big of a part do you think what you see on TV media, what you see on TV advertising, how big a part did that play?
Well, it kind of just like, it puts the fairy tale image on what you would expect to happen, and it's not really much of reality because it's fake. So when it really comes down to it, this is what you're expecting because you've seen it, but it doesn't play out that way.
And you're expecting because of what you see on TV, and it's everywhere. I mean, just wherever you look, on TV and magazines, you see everything, and it's just happening without anybody planning, just like it's just perfect. So you were thinking that that's just the way it would happen in your marriage.
Yeah.
Okay. And John, were you really more or less expecting to get more guidance from him, though? Did you expect him to understand what you wanted?
I was, because, he's had sex before.
Okay.
So I was expecting him to know a little bit more about it, because I've never done it before. I don't know what happened, the experience or anything. So I was like looking at him for more guidance, tell me and do this, and this is what you do, and it's like this, make me feel more comfortable in it, but it doesn't happen that way.
Okay. Yeah, because, we sort of want our partner to sort of read our mind and know what we want. And then he sort of wants you to know what he's expecting. But once we look at it realistically, we know that nobody really knows what we want better than we do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard. That's why communication is so hard. We hear a lot about communication in a marriage, where partners should communicate. They should talk about the kids. They should talk about finances. They should talk about this. But we very seldom hear anybody talking about, how they should talk about, their sexual wants and needs. And how big a part do you think, how close a friend do you consider John to be, Denise?
I consider us really good friends. It's just sex sometimes can be like a taboo subject, and it's kind of like a, oh no, that's something bad. But we're married, so we should feel comfortable enough to talk about it, because in the eyes of God, it won't be seen as like bad because we're married.
Exactly, because it has been sort of distorted, just because, you know, we do live in a fallen world, and sex along with everything else has been distorted, where it's more of a way that we find we do it for self-gratification, instead of it should be, you know, a relationship that we're coming united with our partner. Do you remember, were you raised up in the church?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember any type of sexual education, or any sermon or any teaching or anything in your church about sex and marriage?
No, not more of a sex, more of marriage and more of communicating, but not more of just like intimacy with your partner.
Okay. And you were more or less told just for it not to happen until you were not supposed to do it until you were married.
Yeah.
But then nobody ever actually told you what to expect after you were married. Yeah. Right, right. And what is your thinking now? What do you think God's understanding? What do you understand God meant, you know, for sex to be? How did He mean for sex to be in a marriage?
I feel like God meant for sex to be for you and your partner to come and be as one. Okay. That's what I think God meant, and it's for, you know, to procreate and have children and stuff. So that's what I'm thinking.
Okay, and that's exactly what it is. God gave sex, He gave it to us as a gift for, you know, between husband and wife, and it was a gift for them to come together as one. But when you come together as one, communication plays a big part in it. You know, in order for you to come together as one, that other person has to know what's actually on your mind, you know, what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. He has to know, you know, what he can do in order to, gratification, pleasing, pleasure is a big part of sex. But communicating, can you see how communicating, if you were able to talk about your needs and wants, how that could be an aphrodisiac that could really, you know, make it be just that more of a pleasure, and could really bring you more together with your partner?
Yeah, I do. And me, I don't really know what I want or what I like, just because I've never had experience. And he has, and I'm pretty sure he does know what he wants, but it's just, it may be hard for him to just tell me and talk about it.
Okay. So. How would you think, one of the things that we normally suggest to couples, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, is an opportunity where we have like a pamphlet that I can give you, that both of you, it's an opportunity for both of you to learn each other's body parts. Mm-hmm. It's an opportunity for you to just take time exploring each other's body parts and knowing the actual names of it instead of some of the terms that's being used. It's a good way when you know your body parts and how your body reacts to sex. And by you and your husband both coming together and exploring your body, and you don't have to do the whole body, you can just start. What we normally suggest is that we take, each partner take like 30 minutes at a time. Say if it was you first, your 30 minutes, that you would have John to lie on his back first, and that you would just massage his back. You want to get familiar with his body and find out what part of his body is more essential to you and to him. It's important for you to know what parts turn you on and what parts, you know, that's really turn him on. And once you want to start off first, though, just massaging his body, not touching any erotic areas, just doing the front, his shoulders, and his back, just getting familiar with touching. Because what do you think about touching when you're touching your partner? What do you think about that? How do you feel when John is touching you?
But when he touches me, it's just like, it's new. So I don't really know how to just take it all in. I'm just like sitting there and then just thinking to myself, like, okay, what is he doing?
Okay.
Like, you know, I'm just trying to think, like, do I like this, or if I don't like this, how can I tell him to stop and, you know, do something else?
Okay. And you don't feel comfortable right now telling him to stop?
Yeah.
Okay. Because actually you don't know whether it should be something that you should feel comfortable with or not.
Yeah.
But I do want you to go back and we'll talk. We'll also have an individual session with John, and we'll talk to him about it the same way, so both of you can be on the same page before we come back to the next session with both of you. But after about 15 minutes of just massaging him, then you want him to turn over and you massage his back, the same way. You do the back the same way, and then he'll do that. And this is just an opportunity for you two to get, come together and to learn more about each other's body. And then after that, you can learn we'll give you a pamphlet or a book. We have a book by Rosanoff, about celebration of sex that we give to couples, and it will explain your erotic areas. It will explain your reproductive anatomy, which is really important for couples to know. And then you know how your body responds. When you know how your body responds in certain ways, it make it easier for you to talk about. And this is what we recommend for a lot of our young couples. And once you learn the body anatomy, the reproductive anatomy, it's easier, and you know the names of it. Sometimes some of the names that we have heard some of our body parts referred to, we're not necessarily comfortable with those names, But once you get just the real name of it, it makes it a lot easier for you to talk about it. And then if you decide to rename it something else, the pet names that you would know. How does that sound? How does that sound to you?
It sounds really good. I'm going to try it.
Okay. Well, we will. I'll make sure before you leave today that I give you the book. And both of you will have, when I talk to John in his individual session, we will talk about the book also, and I'll let him know. We'll give you a chapter that we really want you to read, like chapters 1 and 2 next week. And that's about, celebration of sex, between a couple. But it's telling you how to actually communicate with each other. And communication, like I said before, is such an aphrodisiac, because once you learn how to plan, once you learn how to communicate, and you learn how to talk, you learn how to play, and you learn how to joke with each other, that's when you're coming together as one. That's when, when you're having your sexual encounter, it's not just all about you being satisfied. It's more about you having fun, and it's more about you, wanting to satisfy your partner, and your partner wanting to satisfy you. Okay. If it was one thing in particular that you wanted to talk about, what would it be that you think you would want to talk about?
How can I help him talk to me? Because I know he has experience, and it's probably stuff that he wants, but it's like, I'm kind of open, it just tell me, and teach me, or kind of show me how you would want to be touched or anything.
Okay. And that's why it's so important for you two to start off touching each other, to learn how to touch each other. Because neither one of you wants to do anything that you're not comfortable with. And he's not going to be wanting to do anything to you that you're not comfortable with. And you, on the same, don't want to do anything that he's not comfortable with. But when you learn how to talk about it, you learn how, you learn how it's okay to say no sometimes. And it's okay when you say no. He learns how not to take it as being, something against him. But then you focus more on, if you said no to this, then what else would be okay. So it's you're focusing on what he needs, and which is what marriage is about. Marriage is about couples learning how to focus on each other's needs. And, because you think the way you see it is, if you're focusing on his needs and he's focusing on yours, both of you come together and both of you happy. But communication is very important, and it has not been discussed enough in the church. It has not been talked about enough in the schools, because God created man and woman. He created them, and he anointed the marriage. And he said the man would leave his mother and his father and be united with his wife, and they would become one. And in order to have any type relationship, what is the first thing that we have to learn to do in order to have any type relationship?
To come together and be together.
Yeah, and part of that coming together and being together is through what?
Through God.
Yes, through God, and it's also through, even with a relationship with God, we have to learn how to communicate. We have to learn how to talk to each other. We have to learn for it to not be all about us, but learn how to think about the needs and wants of each other. When we say sex has been so distorted, it's been distorted because it's based more on us thinking about how we're going to be satisfied and thinking about how our partner, wants to be satisfied. And I also would give you a brochure and it's more or less like a little test that you can take, and you can kind of rate, what areas that you think that you are essential in, and what other areas you think that you may have a problem with working on. And this is something that you do that's just individual that you do, and then you bring it back. And I also give John one, so both of you can work on that. And but how do you feel about being able to take 30 minutes with him, and he take 30 minutes? Is that something you think you could do within the next week?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that would be like a great start to just like start touching and then talking as we go.
Yeah. And as you touch him, he can tell you how it feels to him. As you touch him, he can tell you the same. And it doesn't have to always lead to sex. And for this 30 minutes, we want it to be about you just getting familiar with each other's body. Okay. You'll have the book. You'll have Rosenau's book, that you'll be able to read and study. And it will also, the book is just really a good book because it tells you about communication, and it stresses a lot about how communication with each other is such an aphrodisiac, because you don't want sex to be just a means to an end. And it's different parts of it. It's just different parts to the marital act. Sex is an important part of it. But, in order for it to be an important part, it has to be other parts that it's bringing together in a marital relationship, where you're coming closer to each other. And the more you come closer to each other in the bedroom through communication, guess what? It flows over outside the bedroom into your communication about finances and everything else, because you're so relaxed with each other that you can talk, you can talk in the bedroom and laugh and play. Right now, do you guys laugh and play a lot, or how do you have fun?
No, because since it's been like a problem, we kind of just don't even bother.
Okay. But before you were married, though, did you joke around and play a lot?
Yeah, we did, but we just never took it that far. We would just like play or whatever, cuddle or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and so just laughing and playing and touching each other, and like I said, it doesn't always have to lead to a sex encounter. Maybe you're not in the mood, and maybe he's not in the mood, and learning to say that I'm not in the mood, and they'll understand. Learning to say, the notching of that, that's something that I don't like, to try something else. And that's what is so important about the marriage relationship. And I think what's happened to most couples today, and that's their biggest problem, is that they try to communicate everywhere else. And they say sex is a big part of their marriage, is important to them. But until, they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to talk about, this is what I want, this is how I want you to touch me. And it's really important for you to learn how to do that before. Are you planning on having kids?
Yes.
Okay. And because once now you have time that you can spend with each other and explore each other. But later on, if you were spending time, you may not if you have kids, then unless you've actually worked out a schedule or worked out something that worked for both of you, can you see how kids could come in? Yeah. So this is an opportune time for you as newlyweds, to work it out. To try to work it out and try to talk. So it is something that you do want to be able to work out, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I think our time is almost up. And like I say, I will make sure that you have the book. And I will make sure when I talk to John, I will make sure that he knows about the book also. Mm-hmm. But again, just try the 15 minutes, 30 minutes for each one of you. 15 on the stomach and 15 on the back. And just not with any erotic areas, even when he's massaging you. It's not touching your breasts. It's not touching anything that's erotic, because this is just you two learning how to get familiar with each other's body. Okay. And learning what feels good to you, and learning how to talk to each other and tell each other. And if it doesn't feel good, learn how to, if it tickles, learn how to laugh and say, well, this tickles, it feels kind of good, but it tickles me, Yeah. And, that's just an area. And once you get that confidence of talking to each other, because even in our relationship with God, we have to be able to communicate. And that's what he wants for us. He wants for us to be, like I say, he is a relation of God. And by he being a relation of God, he's a relation of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And by he being a relation of God, he created us in his image. And so being in his image, that means that he wants us to be in a relationship with him and each other. So we feel like we're completed through God and through a good relationship. we find our completion, in God and in others, because that's the way He created us.
Yeah.
And but until we spend time, we have to spend time with God in order for that relationship to grow.
Mm-hmm.
We have to spend time with our marriage, with our partners, in order for that relationship to go. Because He said, when we come together as a husband and wife, nobody else is supposed to interfere with that relationship. We have to work it out. You left your father, you left your mother to become one. And it is hard blending that single relationship. When you first get married, that first year is hard because you're used to being single and only thinking about yourself. But now you becoming a couple. And becoming a couple, people are looking at you. They're not looking at you just as Janice anymore. They look at you and they look at you as John and Janice, like it's John and I, where's John? The same way with Janice. So that's just part of being a couple. Well, and let us have just a quick prayer, and then we next week we'll schedule your next appointment for the same time next week, but it will be with you and John. So now let us just have a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this opportunity to meet with Janice today. And Father, I lift this family up to you. And I ask you to just continue to order their steps and order their words. Continue to give them a new revelation of your mercy and your grace as they work out, the difference it is in being single and coming together as a couple. We know that you bless the marriage, and we know that you're right there with him. And we know that everything that's going on, you are aware of. And you said for us to lean not on our own understanding, but to acknowledge you in all of our ways, and you will direct the path. So we lift this couple up to you, and we ask you to just continue to direct their path. In your son Jesus' name, I pray and I thank you. Amen.